Today we're solving one of the most popular Leetcode and interview questions, 3-sum. Basically, you have to find all of the distinct triplets that sum up to 0, and if there aren't any, we return an empty array. As you can see in example 3, you can have duplicate values in the same triplet, but they have to be from different indices. The constraints tell us that the length of the input array will be greater than or equal to 3 and less than or equal to 3000, and the values in the input array will be greater than or equal to -10 to the 5th and less than or equal to 10 to the 5th. We're going to solve this with a single for loop and 2 pointers. This solution has a big O of n squared time complexity and linear space complexity. I'm using my own example input because I think these integers will better illustrate the logic behind the solution than the Leetcode example inputs. The first thing we'll do is sort the input array in ascending order. A general rule of thumb when it comes to using 2 pointers is you're going to need a sorted array, and this should become clear why as we progress. So our for loop will start at the 0 index, and we'll have a left pointer that will start one index ahead of the for loop index, and a right pointer that will start at the last index. Inside of our for loop, we'll have a while loop that will iterate as long as the left pointer is less than the right pointer. The first thing we'll do inside of the while loop is calculate our current sum by adding the for loop's current number with the left number and the right number, and we'll check if it equals 0, which it does, so we'll push this triplet to our results array. This next part is very important and also admittedly kind of confusing. In order to avoid having duplicate triplets, we need to make sure that the next values our left and right pointer are pointing at are not the same values we just pushed to our results array. So we'll have 2 more non-nested while loops. One that will run while the left number is equal to the next left number. If those numbers are equal, then it's going to keep incrementing the left pointer by 1 until they're no longer equal. The other while loop will do the same with the right pointer, but decrement the right pointer while the right number and the next right number are the same. The current left number and the next left number are equal, so the left pointer increments. The new current left number and the next left number are equal again, so the left pointer increments. This time we have a current left number of -1 and a next left number of 0, so the while loop exits. The second while loop evaluates to false because our current right number and the next right number are not equal. Once we make it past both of those while loops, we'll increment the left pointer by 1 and decrement the right pointer by 1. We have a new current sum of -3. So this is why we sort the array. By sorting the array, we know that if the current sum is less than 0, then we need to increment the left pointer to potentially increase our sum towards 0. Else, if the current sum is greater than 0, then we need to decrement the right pointer to potentially decrease the sum towards 0. I say potentially because we may have duplicates, and sometimes the current sum will remain the same after incrementing or decrementing the pointers. So we increment the left pointer because the current sum is less than 0, but now our left pointer and right pointer are equal, so our while loop exits. Here comes another very important part, and again, kind of confusing. This is kind of the last piece of the puzzle when it comes to avoiding duplicate triplets. We need to check if the current number of our for loop index is equal to the next number in our for loop. If it is, then we need to increment the for loop index by 1 until they're no longer equal to each other. So again, we'll have a while loop to handle this. In this case, -4 and -1 are not equal, so our for loop iterates and increments by 1 and our pointers reset. The current sum is now 3, so we decrement the right pointer. The new current sum is -1, so we increment the left pointer, which gives us a current sum of -1 again. We increment the left pointer and we get a new current sum of 0, and we push this triplet to our results array. Neither current pointer value is equal to the next, so both while loops evaluate to false, and we increment the left pointer and decrement the right pointer, which causes our while loop to exit. This time the current for loop number and the next number are equal, so the while loop triggers and we increment the for loop index by 1. We have -1 and -1 again, so the for loop index increments again. Now we have -1 and 0. So the while loop exits and our for loop iterates, incrementing one more time. We have a new current sum of 6. The right pointer decrements, causing our while loop to exit. The for loop iterates, and right here we'll immediately break out of the for loop because we're going to check if the current for loop number is greater than 0. If it is, we'll just break because you obviously can't get a sum of 0 at this point. Any remaining sums will be positive numbers. Let's translate this to code. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is sort the nums array in ascending order with the built-in sort method. Then we'll initialize a variable called results with an empty array. Now we'll set up our for loop. We'll initialize the index with a value of 0. We'll check that the index is less than the length of our nums array. And we will increment the index by 1 when the code block is finished executing. Inside of our for loop, first we'll check if the current value is greater than 0. If it is, we'll just break. Next, we'll initialize our left and right pointers. Then we'll set up our while loop to run while the left pointer is less than the right pointer. Inside of the while loop, we'll calculate the current sum. Then we'll check if the current sum is equal to 0. If it is, we're going to push the triplet to the result array. Now we're going to set up another while loop to check if the current left number and the next left number are equal. If it is, we're just going to increment the left pointer by 1. We'll do the exact same for the right pointer. And no matter what, we need to increment and decrement both pointers when we push a triplet to the result array. Now, if our current sum is less than 0, we need to increment the left pointer. Else, the current sum must be greater than 0, so we decrement the right pointer. And once we exit our first outer while loop, we need to check if the for loop index value is equal to the next value. Finally, once we exit our for loop, we'll return the result array. And that's our solution. Let's copy and paste this in a Leetcode. Okay, let's paste it in here, hit submit, and we get an accepted solution. Thank you for watching.